it's Sam, and today I'm going to be doing a chatty Get Ready With Me featuring this look and talking about Stranger Things Season 2. So I am coming down with a cold of some variety. As per usual, the things that I use will be down in the description box, but this isn't really a tutorial, it's just doing your makeup with me if you decide to do your makeup, or just watching me do my makeup and talking about stuff. So this time around, it's all about Stranger Things Season 2. So it pretty much goes without saying, if you haven't caught up on Stranger Things or you don't want to be spoiled, you probably shouldn't watch this video, I'm sorry. So just like Season 1, I watched this season so late, like I was so excited for it to come out, and then I just kept like putting it off. And then Gerald and I are watching it together, just like we watched Season 1. We watched Season 1 like over the summer. And we kept putting it off, I think just because we were just like so excited about it. And then we watched the first couple episodes and weren't really getting into it. Like we were just like, man, this is kind of like nothing's really happening and like, whatever. So I feel like this season, Season 2, took about 3 episodes to get into. I feel like it really took off like episode 4, but the first like 2 for sure, and then I feel like part of 3 it started taking off as well. But it just took a while to get into it, so we actually didn't start watching it again until over the holidays when I was home for the holidays. We were home for the holidays. And then we started watching it and it was like, okay, here it goes. Here's what's happening. The episode that really started taking off for me was when Will like got inhabited by the eldritch horror. That was whatever that thing is. That's when I was like, oh shit, like this is the season now. Like here's the stuff. So that was good, but it just took a little bit to get into, and that's fine because I feel like the first season did as well, but like not quite as much because I don't know, like the first season was just so unexpected that this season had a lot to live up to. And I think overall it was a really good season, but there were a couple missteps that I will talk about, in my opinion. You know, this is just my opinion. So there were a lot of unexpected character things that I'm probably gonna talk about. Like I'm mostly actually gonna talk about the characters in this, like the plot too, but like I love this show because of the characters, and the acting is so good. Like the actors make you hate some of the characters and love some of them and have like redeem themselves. Like they're just so complex and real. They don't feel like caricatures or anything. So that's one of the biggest things for me and for watching the show, is that the show just feels so real, even though it's such like a far-fetched plot. It just feels really realistic to me. So the first thing, Sean Astin's character Bob pops up and I'm like, who's this loser? Like, I was like, who is this getting in the way of my OTPs? So going into, let me talk about that first. Going into this season, my top 2 favorite couples on the show, or like people that I ship the most because they're not like canon couples necessarily, or they weren't at the beginning, whatever, are Joyce and Hopper, like my fave, and then Jonathan and Nancy. Like that's who I really like. And so when Joyce and Hopper are like the top. So when Bob comes along and she's dating him, I'm like, who is this Bob guy? What a loser. But oh my god, he was so endearing. Like what? He just came out of nowhere, stealing my heart, hurting my heart bones, and I was like, who is this guy? But it took me a little while to get into it. I was like, this guy's a weenie. He's nice, but he's a weenie. And then it shows him at Radio Shack, which like, wow, flashback for those of you kids who don't even remember Radio Shack. Like Radio Shack used to be a big deal. Like the fact that they used him as like a Radio Shack employee, like stop. So yeah, I just really started to like him, and he's so endearing and he's so nice, and like, yeah, he can't really make it in this type of story, but he's like so nice. The scene in like, was it the second to last episode when they're in the lab and he is talking about like, Hopper's about to go and turn the breaker on or whatever, and he's like, do you know basic? And Hopper's like, what's that? And he's like, it's like a computer language, you know, and he's like, no, teach me. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll just teach you French or whatever. Like that whole thing where Hopper's like devastated that he doesn't know. He's like, no, like that scene was so amazing. Gerald and I rewatched it 4 times. 4 times. We stopped and we rewatched it. That happened a couple times this season, of like rewatching scenes right after they happen because they're so funny. But as that starts happening, I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna die. Like I kind of thought throughout the whole show, I was like, they're gonna kill off this poor sweet man. But at the like beginning, I was like, whatever, it'll be like a useless death and it's fine, whatever, because he's not like a main character. And then when the whole scene happened, like where he's about to die, like you know he's gonna die. As soon as he goes out there, you're like, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Hopefully he's not dead, but he's dead. And then he like leaves his gun behind, even though the guns are like not even important. But when they set it up that he's like basically gonna die, and you like know that he's going to, I did not like how this was done, how this death was done. I'm okay that he died, I guess, like, I understand that he has to get out of the way for Hopper and Joyce to be together. Like, that's kind of what it is. But I don't like how it was done because it was so overdone, in my opinion. So when he's like running to get away from these things, he knows they can get through doors and all this stuff, and he slow motions and then stops, and him and Joyce like stare at each other in happiness. I was like, what kind of crap is this? Of course you're gonna... What? Why would you stop? You're right almost to the outside. Hopper's right there with the gun. Go. And he didn't. And I was like, that's stupid. That's stupid. That's a stupid like horror movie death. That's stupid because like no one would stop running in that instant. So please. And then the other thing that I thought was like over the top and too dramatic was when they show his body getting eaten by all the demi-dogs. No, that's so stupid. No, because they didn't swarm on anything else, all right? They didn't go for anybody else. The fucking doctor guy makes it out with a scratch on his leg. They left him. There's a million bodies in there. Like, there's like hundreds of people that they've already killed, the demi-dogs have already killed in there. And they all swarm on him and eat all his insides. That's for dramatic effect, and I do not appreciate that kind of thing because it's just like, come on, like that doesn't even make any sense. And I know this show is based in non-reality, but if those things were going to eat people, they would have either already been satiated at this point, or they would have been eating people throughout. Like they're like, how did Dr. Man make it out with the scratch on his leg? But Bob doesn't, and he's like one of the last people to like try to escape. So why would they all swarm and eat him? And there are all these other bodies, even in that lobby, that aren't half eaten, that are just like slashed at. Like, please. I mean, he could have even just like died and then we never saw him again or whatever, and I'd be like, fine. But when they went back to show his body being eaten, I was like, this is ridiculous. No. No, no, I don't like how you did that. I would even prefer, like, okay, you don't want them to end up together, like, fine. I don't know. Just, like, do something else. Like, or have him die another way. Like, he did die, I guess, like, a noble death. I don't know. I would have rather he not even almost make it. I would have rather he died, like, down by, like, I would have rather, here's the thing, I just thought of it. I would have rather he stayed down in the computer area and navigated their way through the same way the guy was on the cameras, like turning on, you know, the like faucets and everything and like opening and closing doors to make it so that they got out easier because they got out with like no problem, and like died down there. That would have made sense. Don't try to show him almost getting out and then dying because he stopped and stared at Joyce for like a minute too long. Like, no, I just think that was just, I just don't think that was done well. I just don't think that was done well. And I didn't like cry when that happened because I wasn't that attached to him, but I did cry a little bit, like got a little misty when the kids were like, he was the first creator of the AV Club. Stop! I don't usually love the Sweet Beans so much, but I liked him and I'm mad about how they did him so dirty. Speaking of characters that they did dirty, but I mean for good reason. But can Will get a break? Can Will just catch a break? But honestly, if that little kid doesn't catch an Emmy, I'd be so mad. Like, all those scenes he had to do when he was, like, either being, like, possessed, basically, or, like, whatever, so good. And you could tell when he was being, like, controlled, like, that, what a good child actor. Like, I don't typically like child actors. I, like, love all these kids on the show. And usually I hate them, and so does Gerald. Like, we just usually don't like child actors if they just usually, like, overact. Oh, man. Oh man, these kids are so good. I also really liked the parallels that we have between season 1 and season 2. So like, I just got happy feelings when, just like season 1 with all the lights in the house, she put up all of the drawings, all of his drawings. I was like, there's Mama, you know, solving things by hanging it all over her house. She's just a really visual learner. Speaking of proud parents, Hopper and Eleven's relationship, I cannot. I adore them both with my whole entire heart. And when they like weren't getting along, I was like, please just get along because I love you both so much. And like, they're just both such sweet beans and they're both trying to do their best and they just can't do their best, but they're both trying to do their best. Like when he found her, stop. Like at the end of last season when he was like putting stuff out for her, that was cute enough. But then when he like found her and she's his like little daughter, oh my god. I'll talk about that more in the future. But, the thing that I know some people wanted me to touch on, because when I said I was going to do a whole discussion, some people mentioned, like, can you please talk about this thing? So 11 going and finding her mom, which I think was really good. I liked that whole part. But then when her mom sent her to the other girl that had powers, and that was like a whole side episode, I'm so glad that this show wasn't being watched like live, because I would have been hella pissed if we had to wait for an episode and like have that be like a waste. Oh man, I have experienced that kind of thing too much in my life to be okay with that happening at that point in this season. Like, stop. So that was kind of like meh. I understand why it happened, because it gave her the whole like, you know, channel your anger, which she already kind of knew to do, but like it gave her that a little more, which was good. But it was like, wow, what a whole like boring side episode. Like, that was pretty pointless. But I think, okay, I wonder why her mom tried to send her there. Like, I think that that might come around again, and I wonder if the super kids that have all been like created, I wonder if they are gonna have to be pulled in order to defeat the big bad in like the very end. Like, is it gonna try to invade some other way? And are all these kids with like psionic abilities going to be needed in the future? So us knowing that there's more and 11 being able to locate them might be like a thing, but it was like it wasn't a bad episode, but it was just one of those like, I want more from this, man.
Also...
Oh, that's coming.
Okay, just... I just wanted to make sure you remembered.
I have 2 pages of notes.
I'm glad. I should have known.
That's
but again,
so funny.
I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if
I left it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gerald just came in to make sure that I included everything that I needed to, and there was one part that I forgot, so that's great, but then he told me 2 other things that are already on my list. I got 2 pages of notes. But during that episode, she also had the whole idea planted in her mind that the Dr. Papa guy, like, might not be dead. I still think he is, but he might not be. So that's a thing, which I think is going to be important for later on. But it was a sidestep in the whole episode. Like, it was a whole thing in the season that completely, like, tossed it off the rails. I get why people are mad. I was annoyed too. I was less annoyed because it's like a show that you can watch back to back. So it was like, okay, it's not interrupting it the way that like this kind of episode might happen on, you know, Grey's Anatomy right before a holiday break. And then you have to wait a month and a half, you know? Like, that didn't happen. So like, yeah, we can all be annoyed, but we can also all like cool our jets because you could just watch the next episode right after, so it's fine. So as far as my favorite characters, I mean, like, I love all the characters in the show. Let me just make that, like, abundantly clear. But my favorite character, possibly on TV right now, period, is Hopper. Which is so funny, and why I was saying earlier that, like, everybody on the show is an amazing actor. Because when this show started, what a douche. Like, you thought he was such a douche, and then you, like, learn more about him, and you, like, love him. I was not pleased with him at the start of the show, like, the very, very start. Obviously, I've loved him since season 1, but, like, the very, very start of the show. And then you just learn more about him, and I was like, wow, my love, my light. Speaking of people that you think are douches, my second favorite character on the show is Steve Harrington. And let me tell you, I would have not thought that even at the end of last season. Like, I was still skeptical of him at, like, the finale of season 1 when he, like, teams up with Nancy and Jonathan. I was like, all right, okay, people, because I went, obviously, into the fandom, into Tumblr, and people were, like, loving him, obviously, in the tags or whatever. And I was like, all right. He's done a couple redeemable things, he's getting better, but he's been a douche the whole season. Let's just chill, you know? And he's so good, and he is my favorite son, and I just love him, and he just makes a lot of mistakes, but he's really great. He is the best babysitter. Like, I had not been spoiled really at all for this show, thank God. But I had seen a couple things about, like, Steve being a babysitter, so when he came to the house and Dustin saw him, I was like, this is it. And then he, like, teamed up with the kids. Oh my god, I love him. Like, I'm still really mad at them for dragging him into the Upside Down because he was just trying to make sure everyone is safe, and these stupid kids always want to be heroes, and so they were dragging him in there, and he got all beat up, which is another scene that I want to talk about because I did not appreciate it. And, like, he's my favorite. Oh my god. I love him so much, and I would ideally want him, Jonathan, and Nancy to be in a polyamorous relationship together, but I know that won't happen, but that's what I would prefer now. And last year I never would have said that. But now, that is how I feel. Just remember, I hated him in season 1. Like, he was such a douchebag, but he's grown. And the whole, like, every scene when he was with the kids, him and Dustin's relationship, him and his stupid nail baseball bat, And just the whole thing where he's like, I was a bad boyfriend, but I'm a damn good babysitter. You were not a bad boyfriend, Steve Harrington. You were a bad boyfriend in like season 1 at times, but like in season 2 you were a great boyfriend. It's just that you guys didn't work out because you're teenagers and like not every teenage relationship works out. But you were a great boyfriend this season, Steve. So the other thing that kind of slowed up this season, I think, was like the introduction of like Max and Billy. So first off, I like Max now. It took me a little while for her to grow on me. Like she was being a little bit of a brat at the beginning, and I was just like, yo, let's not. But she ultimately grew on me, and I'm just kind of mad because like everyone's mean to her. Like, okay, one of my least favorite characters, well, I still one of my favorites because they're all my favorites, but Mike's whiny little butt, I cannot with him. This little moody little teenager, you're 12, and I'm mad at you. Like, can you not? You're mean to some of your friends, and you're just being a little brat baby, and I know that you've gone through like trauma, but you all have shared trauma, okay? So like, be nice to your friends. And he's really mean to her because 11's gone, but like, it's not her fault. She hasn't even been here. Why are you mad at Max about it? It's not her fault. You can't be mean to all girls because your one girl that you liked is gone. Like that's, I don't like that. I don't like that. Like it's like he's only nice to girls when they can do something for him, and I don't like that. Like he's a little 12-year-old and I don't think he thinks that complexly about it, but like, stop. And I was also hoping that there was more to that with like her and her brother. So like there's all these scenes at the beginning that makes it seem like she and him are like connected to deeper, darker crap, because he like is saying like, you know, it's her fault and she got mad at things and then bad things happen, and like all this stuff that almost implied that she was also like a super kid, which she's obviously not. But like all this stuff, so I thought that something else was gonna happen with that, and like they were tied to that paranormal part a little bit more. So when they weren't, that was disappointing because it was like a red herring that was like too much of a red herring, and then I just got disappointed by it when they aren't really anything. And just speaking of that family in general, I discovered when I went into the tags on Tumblr that the fandom is a big fan of Billy, and I'm like, stop. So you know that your girl loves redemption arcs. I do. I love them a lot. I think they're great, and I'm a big fan of the redemption arc. But I am fans of redemption arcs when they are at least hinted at, and so far with Billy, it hasn't been. So y'all need to chill. So here's the thing, even the tiniest scrap of a redemption arc I will cling to, but so far, Billy has not done anything redeemable. I am actually a fan of getting him into the crew somehow and like him changing his ways. Like I was thinking that was gonna happen actually when he came and fought with Steve. I thought they were gonna like bring him in somehow and like now he'll know and all this stuff, like especially because of how season 1 ended with like Steve coming into the fold. But that didn't happen, which I'll talk about in a second. He has not done anything good yet. At all. He's still a piece of trash, okay? Like, yes, we got a scene where we see that he's being beaten by his father and that his father is an even bigger trash bag. But that scene doesn't excuse any of his behavior, and it doesn't imply his own redemption arc. Like, it shows a cause for why he is the way that he is. Like, when he was beating up Steve, I was like, wow, he's probably picturing his dad and taking out his frustration on Steve. You can pretty much tell that from the faces he's making. That's not redemption behavior. Like, he has to have even some kind of facial change of like, I don't want to be this way, I don't want to do this thing, whatever. He doesn't. He comes into the house attacking Lucas basically because he's black, that's the implication, and being a piece of shit. So he has not done anything yet. Because I'm thinking he will. Maybe he won't. But he hasn't done anything yet. So stop romanticizing him when he hasn't done anything good yet. Like I said, I'm a big fan of redemption arcs and character arcs that lead to redemption. You know me, I love that shit. But you have to at least have a little bit of that behavior before you go romanticizing him. And the people that are shipping him with Steve need to not right now. I'm all here for the gay ships. You know how I feel about the gay ships. I'm very happy with that. But he hasn't done anything good yet. So chill. And I feel like the majority of why he is being shipped with like either the other characters or like I'm seeing a lot of like Billy and the Reader, which I'm like, please stop with like that kind of fan fiction. Like he's not good. It's just because the actor's hot. Yeah, the actor's cute. Apparently the actor's a pretty good person, but the character is not and hasn't done anything good yet. Like, at least Steve at the end of last season had already started to do, like, redemption type behavior. And, you know, he teamed up with them. He wanted to apologize. That's good. Here's how I would have liked that scene to go down and how I thought it was going to go down, seeing as they showed them putting the demi-dog in the fridge. So I thought that scene would be like, maybe lure him in there, say, I have something to show you, whatever. Get Billy in the house. show him the demi-dog body. If you don't want him to team up with the crew right now, that's fine. But you've at least introduced him to like the paranormal side of things, and he's like, you guys are fucking crazy, F you, and still starts fighting. That makes sense. That makes sense. And the fighting in general makes sense for Billy's character. Being like, I don't believe you, and then being so freaked out and fighting makes more sense to me, even though Billy's in general a violent character and fighting makes sense for him anyway. That makes more sense for me, and for the storyline, if they are going to put him in like a redemption situation, which again, I don't know, that makes more sense for me than them just fighting Steve trying to lie that she's not there because like everybody knows that she's there. The kid's looking out the window like dumbasses because he can blatantly see you, and like all of that. I think that fight could have gone down way better. I'm still happy that Max defended herself. I'm still glad that she like shot him in the neck with the stuff and that she like threatened him and like stay away from me. That's cool. He's still a piece of shit, but I think it could have been done way better. It was just a scene that I was like, man, I don't really appreciate this, and this doesn't really feel good at all. This could have been done better. Wasted potential there. It just didn't feel as fulfilling as it could have felt. So my third favorite character is probably Nancy. Nancy is my favorite. And she's such a badass, and I like that she's a strong character, but not the kind of character that you usually see being like a strong female character. So, you know, she's kind of like the good girl, the straight A student, all this stuff. But she is stubborn, she is a badass, and she's the one that like, out of her and the guys, like knows how to shoot a gun, out of like her, Jonathan, and Steve. And she's the one that's always like taking the action. She's like, wow, I don't want my best friend's parents to go bankrupt looking for their kid that I know is dead. How are we going to take this place down? Or like when they did the whole scene in the second to last episode where they think the demi-dogs are coming. Well, the demi-dogs are coming. It's right before 11 gets back, which, oh my god, when she walked in, tears streaming down my face. But I knew she was going to come. Like, I'm like, this is when 11's coming, otherwise they're all dead. But when they had like all the defenders set up, so they have like Lucas, and they have Hopper, and they have Steve and Nancy and Mike. Like, oh, she is one of the defenders. She is one of the ones out in front. Like, oh my god, I love her. She's always taking charge, and she is amazing. She doesn't wait for anybody to save her, and apparently she gets some hate in the fandom, and I'm like, why? That's the thing about this entire show. All of these characters are flawed. Like, there's no, like, perfectly good character. So apparently people are like, oh, she, like, let on Steve and Jonathan, blah. And I'm like, well, I do feel like she should have just been with Jonathan last season. She's a freaking teenager. Like, give her a break. Like, she, you know, this is uncomfortable. Like, she doesn't know how her feelings are going. She's not meaning to, like, lead either of them on. She even didn't, like, she didn't tell Steve that she loved him, you know? Like, she never did, and that's the whole thing where he's like, you know, tell me you love me or whatever, and she's like, I can't, you know? Like, so she's not being a piece of shit, but apparently everyone thinks that she's being a piece of shit, and I was like, nah, she's not. Like, I wanted her with Jonathan from the beginning, but I actually was really sad for Steve this time. Like I said, he wasn't a bad boyfriend this season. He was kind of shitty last season, but like, he wasn't a bad boyfriend this season. They're all like learning and growing and just turning into little adults, and I just love them. I mean, the scenes where her and Jonathan go and see that like crazy investigator guy, favorite. He's so funny. The sexual innuendos that usually make me uncomfortable were actually like funny and well done, and I love at the end when he's like sitting out in front of the like the science lab and like drinking beers, and they're flicking him off as they drive by. Oh my god, I love it. He was such a funny character. And then they both get to like discover that they really like each other, and like Jonathan was one of my favorite characters last season. He's not as high on the list as he used to be. Like, Steve is just ran up the list for me, but Jonathan is still a sweet bean, and I ship him and her together like so much. They're my second favorite ship. But speaking of ships, one thing that makes me uncomfortable about this show is I really don't like what they're doing with like the relationships and the kids. First off, why does everyone have to be with everyone else? It's one of those shows where it's like everyone's dating or has dated, or like there's a lot of dating. And I know that the kids are like 12 and 13, and like that's when you kind of start having like little relationships and crushes and stuff like that, and that's fine. Like, I actually didn't mind, even though it's like another kid relationship. Like, I didn't like last season that Elle and Mike relationship thing. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I didn't like it then, I don't like it now. But I was okay more so with Lucas and Max because, like, for example, this is the juxtaposition between them. The very last scene with the dance, so when they're dancing and they have like a little kiss, it's all very like, it's shot cinematically in a like cutesy, like, oh, look at, you know, look at them being like cute, very typical little kid crush way, you know? And like, even when he's trying to like think of ways to be with her, whatever, it's like little kid crush, whatever. But when they shoot Eleven and Mike, they shoot them in a more adult, look at them being in love way. Like, the kiss for them was a little longer and more lingering, only by a little bit, but it's definitely there. You can definitely tell. And it makes me so uncomfortable. I really don't like that. And then people talk about how, like, these Stranger Things kids are being, like, sexualized by the media and by the public. Yeah, because of the way they're shooting, like, Finn Wolfhard, I think is that actor's name, and Millie, whatever, Brown. Millie Bobby Brown? I don't remember. I don't think it's Bobby Brown, but maybe it is. But, like, that actor and that actress are probably the two most sexualized kids on the show, as far as, like, in the media and stuff now, and people being, like, counting down to their 18 and all this stuff. Probably because of how they're shot as, like, in an adultish relationship. And, like, even though Dustin doesn't get with anybody, like, when Steve is talking to him about, like, sexual tension and, like, sexual energy, I'm like, they're 12. They're like 11 and 12 and 13. No. Like, I know some kids start having sexual encounters early and whatever, but like, no. Like, that shouldn't be encouraged. I don't like it. I don't like the lingering kiss. I don't like the setting up the relationship as if it's like love and they're like meant. I don't like it. And you have plenty of relationships. You have the relationships with the adults, and you have the relationships with the teens. And, like, teens is as young as you should get for, like, relationships, you know? So I'm just like, can we not do this? Just the way that they're framed and the way that they're shot, like I said. Again, if it was framed more like Lucas and Max, which is still on the border for me, because I'm like, y'all don't need a date. But it's less troublesome for me. If they were framed like that, where it's, like, little, you know, flirty, whatever, but they're framed like they're faded. They're framed and shot in the same way as the adults and the teens are. I don't like it, man. I don't like it. I think it's inappropriate. I mean, if we're honest, my biggest ship of the whole season was Dart and Dustin as a bro TP. I think that was so cute. Oh my gosh. Like, at times I was like, Dustin, you blatantly know you have an interdimensional being, right, as a pet that you're feeding nougat. And at the end, when, like, they run into him and he lets them by because he feeds them nougat. And they show him being him dad at the end, like little Dart. You're just like, oh, he wanted to be your friend, but he couldn't because he was a wild animal. It's very like Fox and the Hound. One of my other favorite scenes, which I can't think of a nice transition for this because I don't know. I can't think of a nice transition. But one of my other favorite scenes was when they found, like, the Mind Flayer episode and Dustin's explaining Mind Flayers. Let me just tell you that as somebody who is familiar with RPGs and D&D, and, like, Gerald played D&D, like, in the years almost that these kids are living, like, it's funny. So when he's talking about Mind Flayers and Hopper makes a face and he's like, this is the game. And he's like, it's not a game, it's a manual. Another scene that we watched, like, 5 times. What good acting. Hopper's face where he's just like, I love it. I love it. And the kids and using all of their analogies as like D&D references. I can't. It's so good. It's so good. And I liked the finale, and I'm really actually kind of surprised that she was able to close the gate because I don't know what they're going to do for next season now. I mean, obviously they show like the Upside Down isn't gone and like whatever, there's always a thing at the end, you know, just like last season when Will was like coughing up slugs. Like, that's when you're like, okay, well, everything is not hunky-dory, not good. All right, time to get nervous. So when you have 11 actually getting to like close everything, it's like, woo, yay, good. But man, I don't know. And it makes me super nervous. And I saw somebody mentioning this online that was like, if the series ends up with her sacrificing herself for like the boys, I'm gonna be real pissed. And that's what the person said online, and I agree, because it's just like, no, we've had a history now of her like being the only one that can do things and whatever, and thankfully Hopper was with her this time. And the whole scene when they're like apologizing to one another and driving to the thing, oh my gosh, it made me so happy but also so sad. My camera overheated, so I did some under eye work, but now we're back. So yeah, in the end, I don't want her to like sacrifice herself for everyone, but I'm almost feeling like that could happen, but like no fear and then one fear. That's my fear. So overall, I would say that this season is still super, 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 super strong, but not quite as strong as the first season. I just think the first season like knocked it out of the park completely and was just so good. And this season had a couple missteps. Like I can't even think of a fault in the first season. I honestly can't. Like I just loved it so much. So this has a little bit more of some issues for me, but I mean that's probably because the first season was so good, and then like this wasn't bad by any means, but just had a couple things that I just like didn't agree with, you know? So as far as my hopes and dreams for next season, I love that 11/Jane now has a birth certificate and she can basically be like Jane Hopper. I think her actual name that they put on her birth certificate was like Jane Ives or something, but like she's his baby. That whole scene when they were driving to the lab and he was like, they were basically forgiving one another, and she asked him who Sarah was and he was like, that's my girl, that's my baby girl. And I was like, and he called himself a black hole, and I was like, Hopper, you are not a black hole. I love him. So that whole scene, and then like the fact that he was there with her and he like held her when she was like done closing it, and it was I love them. The other thing is that Jane/11 and Max need to be best friends. I will not have, that's my other fear, I will not have any of this weird rivalry between them. She hopefully will see that Max is with Lucas and she doesn't need to be jealous of her, and that whole thing, like that was another thing. When she walked in, Max was all nice to her, and then she just walked past her. Girl, I know that you're like a little 12-year-old and like you're a brat, but stop. I was not happy with 11 when that happened. I was like, please don't be a little brat for no reason. One, how was that girl supposed to know that you liked that boy? And two, she didn't do anything. They were just being friendly. And three, she's with somebody else, and and even if she wasn't, you don't lay dibs to people. I just, no 11, no 11, no. And 11 needs to have a female best friend, okay? She has all these boys around, and that's fine. But lady friendships are super important, and she needs to have that. Also, side note, when Nancy danced with Dustin at the ball, I was so happy and so proud of all my children, and I love that he's a little mini me of Steve, and Steve drove him to the dance, and then Nancy danced with him because he was all sad and crying. I love Dustin, he's my child. The teens are taking the kids under their wing. It makes me so happy. So more of that. More of Steve and Nancy and Jonathan being great babysitters and being so great. I think season 3 will be the season of Chopper, because we've been having that built up for a while. Joyce and Hopper, they are my OTP from the show. I also wish for Steve to be happy. And yeah, I don't have any speculations for the rest of the show, because I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't predict things on a show like this. I just sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I don't need to theorize. No, I don't need to do that, because the show is gonna blow me away no matter what, and I don't need to sit here and have discourse and theorize until the next season comes out. No. Those are my big wishes as far as the plot. Like I don't know. Is this gonna be a new, like how do you top this, man? And like, okay, so this season was like the Demodogs. Last season was like the one Demogorgon. So what's the next season gonna be? Can you believe that we're actually watching a show that has like eldritch horrors in it? I mean, these are basically Cthulhu's. You guys know that, right? Can you believe it? Like a mainstream popular TV show has like basically Cthulhu's on it? Because I would have never predicted this. But it is weird times out there, you know? I cannot believe that I finished a discussion before I actually finished my face. I don't think that's ever happened before. Honestly. It's because I took notes. Like this time I was like, I can't forget anything and I need to take notes. And that made it so I wasn't like scrambling for my words the whole time. So this will probably be one of my better get ready with me's while discussing a topic, because I won't be just meandering around not knowing what to say. So note to future self, when you're doing a discussion, take notes like a normal, civilized YouTuber. So yeah, let me know what you guys want for the next season and like who your kind of like ships are. If you like some of the things that I don't like, that's fine. I mean, like, we can all be wrong. It's okay. I don't think that. But you're wrong. No, really. If you like some of the things that I like, I'm not gonna hate you, but I would appreciate... I don't think the Stranger Things fandom is very, like, fight-like, but I'm so used to the Star Wars fandom these days because I'm so enmeshed in Star Wars stuff right now that I don't want to deal with any crap. So if there's gonna be any fighting, I'll just ignore and delete that. Any rudeness. I hate to give that kind of disclaimer, but it's just not necessary, y'all. But otherwise, I'm 100% here for all of your fan theories. I'm not gonna dig personally myself for too many fan theories because, again, I like to be super surprised. I also just want my other thing for season 3 is I just want Will to like be left alone for a little while. Like, I know he's connected to everything, but wow, he thought he had PTSD after being stuck in the Upside Down for like months. Boy's gonna have some super PTSD from being possessed by an eldritch horror for like weeks. Jeez, give the kid a break. Let me know your theories and stuff. I am excited to talk to you. I hope that the guy that plays Hopper wins an Emmy. I mean, any of them could win an Emmy, and I'd be happy. Like, well-deserved on any of their accounts, honestly. But especially Hopper, I'd say Hopper, 11, and Will are the most deserving. I would say Will might even be more deserving than Hopper, but Hopper, 11, and Will, like, for sure are the ones that, like, need it, because hot damn, that acting. I mean, any of them, honestly, but like, those are the ones that are top notch. Even Winona, man, Winona did a great job. She does a good job in that character. So yeah, I'm done talking about stuff. I think I covered everything. It's crazy, it's crazy. So I'm gonna finish up this look, and then I'll see you at the end when it's done. So this is the finished look. So I hope you guys enjoyed this chatty discussion on Stranger Things Season 2. Comment below, let me know your guys' like theories, your feelings, your thoughts. A lot of you were excited when I said I was going to do something like this, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. And discuss with me because I'm just going to now be not so patiently waiting for Season 3. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!